Hello everyone, it's William here, and I have been asked to do a video review of the UK Railway Datafile 2015 edition. Now, hopefully this gives everyone who's looking to grab a copy or who got a previous copy last year wants to see how the book's coming on. So both books have the exact same data in them. They're just one's a little bit smaller than the other. Sections, we've got mainline stock, so locos, DMU, EMU, coaches, trams and underground. Then we've got preserved stock, which is locos, then steam, and then units combined, coaches, trams and underground. Section 3, industrial, so that's diesel and electric, industrial locos and steam locomotives. Chapter 4, we've got mainline engineers, private owner, which is your 4 and 5 digit wagons. Railway operated air braked, 6-digit numbers. Then the RIV registered international vehicles, that's 12 digits. Preserved stock, and then preserved engineers. Then we move on to the reference, which is names, depot codes and reference codes. So we'll have a quick look through the A5 book and make some comparisons with the A4 on size. See how you guys feel. So moving on to section chapter 1 here, section 1. We've got mainline stock, so we've got our locomotives page there. As you can see, the numbers in bold with the locations there for the shunters. With mainline locomotives as well, you have operator and depot codes. So we have things like West Coast Railway Company at Carnforth Steamtown CS, therefore 57006. Moving through the book to units, that's in the roughly the same format. Now your locomotives page will also have the exported locomotives in there as well, which include foreign numbers where possible. Some of them do carry a RIV number, and also any imported locos to the UK, like the Die 8 that work up at the Lackenby Steelworks, for example. So going through quite similar basic layout to last year. There have been some tweaks, additions, removals where appropriate. Moving through to the end of this section to coaches. So you can see here the coaches section has been slightly tweaked so that the alternative numbers, so for example the ones that carry, for example, 99968, which is a Mark III coach, that's now just added into the Mark III section. Make things easier to find for you. So if you know it's a Mark I and it's, for example, 99723, you can look it up in the Mark I section now. Sleeper stock, HST stock, they stay their own separate sections because they're so vast. Postal section, then you have barrier and translator vehicles. They will both split. I don't see why they shouldn't be combined. Then general utility vans, high security general utility vans as well. Then moving into generator, motor rail, drive and brake standard opens, GLVs, DVTs and PCVs. So all of the kind of driving stock as well there. Then moving on to trams. Now as you can see here, as a kind of pointer, we go from 1.4, which is mainline coaches and vans. We move over to 1.5, trams, metros and light railways. There is no section headers here anymore. It's all in one chapter. But you can see the difference at the bottom in the footers, where it tells you what section of the chapter you're in. Moving to trams, we have underground, 1.6, London Underground here. Moving all the way through to the new SS stock, into chapter 2. Now chapter 2 is basically a reflection of chapter 1, but preserved. So, start off with preserved locos, again, similar format. Moving into preserved steam. Now that's on a single line format. This is where most of the book falls into single line format, is from preserved stock through preserved wagons as well. So, the way this works is we have a number. So let's take, for example, a steam locomotive here, 70,000. So we all know that as Britannia. It's a 462 wheel set. It's a Britannia 7MT. It's based at Crewe Heritage Centre, although, as we all know, we can find them around the country wherever you go. and it has a name, as you can see, Britannia. Now, it is also listed in location order. Now that's to help, especially for things like preserved coaches and preserved wagons, where there is a vast amount of stock with no numbers. That may be able to help you as an indicator, especially in preserved wagons, where I've also tried to add in as much notage as possible for you guys. So that if it says, for example, 7 plank carries SC Ruffy, then when you see that, you kind of know that that's going to be that wagon. And its real number could be something like 9010. But as I say, it's not painted on. So everything from kind of basically here on in is in location order. So as you can see, preserved multiple units. Again, they're in single format, single line format now, rather than trying to bundle them all into class order, which I did have a bit of feedback saying that although it's good having them in the class order and it helps you identify, for some of the spotters who don't know what that class is, for example, the difference between a 101 and a 102, some of us may know, but some may not. So it's a kind of useful tool to kind of be able to just put the number in, based at the Dartmoor Railway, for example. Oh, that's a class 411, and then you can take the side number down and you know what class it is from there on in. Preserved coaches, again, has the same format. We have prefix and suffix letters where appropriate. Most of the PMVY parcels vans did carry prefixes and suffixes, especially on the southern they carried S, number, S. So as you can see here, S1153S, for example. Moving through, again they're in location order, location being on the end here. There's quite a vast amount of coaches, so there's around 60 pages of this. Moving up to preserved trams, I've done my best that I can here for you guys to make this as simple as possible. So we have the operator and then location. So for example, Isle of Man, you've got the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway, then the Manx Electric Tramway, and the Snaefell Mountain Railway. So there's 3 different sets of trams, and they're all in number order for you within the location. So if you go to Critch Museum, again it'll be in number order for Critch, and then as it moves into the letter D, wherever the next one is, and E, F, G, H, I to Isle of Man, etc. They're all in number order for you. And London Underground, just to give you a bit of a heads up on this, everything preserved within the London Underground is in the London Underground section, because there's so little of it really, because it's such a unique and small thing, the London Underground. So we have preserved London Underground units here, so as you can see, most of 1 page. Then there's a single coach that's preserved, a specifically designed 6-wheel Jubilee coach there for the London Underground. And then on London Underground, wagons that are preserved, locomotives, steam locomotives and industrial locomotives. So I put everything in there for you guys, just so when you see something London Underground, you can go directly to this section. In chapter 3, we have industrial locomotives. Now this took the longest amount of time, especially since this is the first book I've ever come across, being my own book, that will have an operating number and the build number. Now, these were very hard to find. It took me a lot of research, but we got there in the end. So let's, for example, take at the Avon Valley Railway, you guys might see an 040 loco that has the number WD70043, and that's industrial loco. Its works number was 358. It's an 040 diesel mechanical DM. Then it's built by Andrew Barclay. It's located at the Avon Valley Railway, and it has a name, and it's called Grumpy, a bit like me in the morning. So as you can see there, I've done my best to kind of give you some help here as to what things are. Obviously there are some industrial locos which, you know, have been left to rot, and it'll be hard to identify, but you know, try your best, and you can always ask advice from people that are in the area, people that work on the line if it's a preserved railway, or if you know what you're looking for, you know where to go and what part of the book you're looking in. Industrial steam works on the same premise. So let's take this one here at the Gower Valley Railway. We've got 68070, it's works number 3840. It's an 060 ST saddle tank, built by the Hunslet Company, located at, as I say, Gower Valley Railway. It's called Pamela. So there we go, it's a very simple, basic format, gets the job done, and then we move on to chapter 4, which is wagons. Now, my favourite section of the book, may not be for everyone, but for the wagon enthusiasts who are looking to grab a copy of this book for this, I guarantee you, this is the most comprehensive single publication of wagons that is out there. This is worth every penny. Guarantee. So, section 1, 4.1 engineer stock. So, as we all know, for example, 975025, that's an AZA inspection slew, and it's in service. If, for example, it was stored here, 975424 BTU tool van, stored at Toten. So, I've done as much as I can for you guys to be able to help you find what you need. Your multi-purpose sandite dispersers / leaf blowers, cranes, they're in here, your tamper liners, lab coaches, everything you kind of need, guys, to work, especially your wagons like the octopus train and your medium output ballast cleaning train as well. That's in here. London Underground engineers, that's mainline stock, of course, being in here. The only kind of difference was the preserved section where everything was bundled together. 4.2 private owner, so 4 and 5 digit numbers, owned by the company themselves. So cement trucks here, prefix BCC, so you'll find the wagons of prefixes BCC 11130, for example. It's a 2-axle cement tank built between 84 and 87 by Powell Dufferin, and it's currently in service for nationwide cement traffic. So again, you can probably see them around the country in the hotspots that they run in, but pretty much anywhere. This format hasn't really changed. I've just kept the wagons up to date as much as possible. Again, guys, if you spot anything, tell me. I want to know, and I want to make sure this is the best book you will ever buy. And I want to make sure that you guys come back to me next year and goes, that guy listened and he corrected a mistake, or he added in a number, or he removed a number. So, in the back of this section 4.2, we've got Chorus Scunthorpe Steelworks. So we've got all of the internal numbers that are used at the Chorus Steelworks here. So we've got things like anchor casting cars, hot metal carriages, torpedo wagons, billet wagons, sea cow auto ballasters as well. There's a few of them. They're all listed in here. All the way through to the KFA bogie vehicle carriers, which are there as well. Extant as well. You might find some of these have been cut. I'm still in the process of researching these properly. I know that some of them are still hidden away in bushes here, there and everywhere. I have done my best to make sure this is kept up to date. But again, if you spot something, let me know. Again, with 4.2, you've got your channel tunnel wagons. Everything you need to know there. 4.3 Embraer, 6-digit numbers. So these are the tops classified. For example, a VDA or a VAA wagon, 201056. It's a DB Schenker nationwide infrastructure traffic. All the way through HTA, 310583, nationwide coal traffic for DB Schenker, built between 01 and 04 Thrall York. So that really again hasn't changed. I've just made sure I've kept everything up to date for you guys. I've tried to do as much breakdown as possible within the wagon types, just to make sure that you know that where things were built, who by. But as I say, I've tried to keep them in as much as clear number order as possible, so it's not going to confuse anyone. Again, your 6-digit Chorus one, so Cardiff Seltzer and Lackenby, they're here, along with excellent stock as well. UIC International Wagons, so that's your UIC Registered International Vehicles. So here we go, let's just take one of the newer wagons so you know that I'm definitely doing my job when you come to paying your money. Let's go for 3770 9228. This is the IFA quad wagon, but currently being built for Network Rail. They're being built by Kiro in Leipzig. So again, built 2014, probably into next year as well. So if it does carry on into next year, I'll make sure that that's corrected. So they're for nationwide infrastructure traffic, and they run in pairs of 4. So 1-7, 2-5, 3-3, 4-1. Then it jumps to 11-6, 12-4, so on and so forth. They jump up every 4. And I make sure that wherever possible, If I don't know what's happening, you know, I know that things are ordered, and they like this company's put in another order for 25 more or fuel tanks. I can't just assume that it's going to be the next 25 numbers after this. So I will wait for confirmation. You know, there is plenty of space for you guys to write things in, for example here. But I will not add it in until I'm 100% sure that that is the correct wagon number. I don't want to make any assumptions. Don't want to have 25 mistakes in the book. Alright, moving on to preserved wagons. Single format again. Now, this is where it gets interesting because we have prefixes, then the number and its suffix where possible. A lot of wagons do. Then a capacity. If the wagon was capacitized under its tare weight, it would carry it here. So, for example, looking here, let's take this 991773. Prefix DB. So it's a 20-ton four-wheel steel open wagon. It's given a family class as Grampus. Now it's a four-wheel steel open, so we all know that's going to be a steel wagon with no roof, a steel kind of bodied side wagon. It's called the Grampus. Some of us know exactly what we're looking for. I would hope that anyone that's going to be ticking numbers off in this book is going to know what they're looking for. For example, Mink A, ventilated van. We all know the difference between a Mink A and a ferry van, hopefully. Again, it's all done by location. So, for example, that one I was talking about, 991773, that was when I researched it at Barry Railway Centre, or to some of the Barry Tourist Railway. It's, where possible, I've tried to give some hints and tips to try and help you along. So, picking one out here, this Tidmouth Milk. So number 5029, it's a four-wheel tank. It's a petroleum tank, but on the side it's painted Tidmouth Milk. Now, obviously you'd think that's a milk tank, but it's not. It's a petrol tank. It's just that someone's painted that on. So again, things can be quite deceptive, especially when a lot of the money on Preserve Railway these days is pumped into their locos and coaches. So obviously that's what people go for. They go for a ride, that's fair enough. You know, sometimes wagons do get left out, and I appreciate the work that a lot of Preserve Railways and owners of Preserve wagons go to ensure that a piece of our history is kept for the next generation, especially like someone like me who enjoys to see these things. Again, it's quite a hefty amount of wagons. You can see here, we're still in the same section, that's Swanage, right? All the way through to about here, where it jumps to a list of unknown locations for wagons. So where they were last at has been put in the book for you. So taking a random one here, DB 954877, it's a 20-ton four-wheel brake van. Its family class is towed fit. It's at an unknown location, but it was ex-Lavender Line, so it was last seen on the Lavender Line. So again, if you guys know where they are, tell me. I'll certainly stick it in the book. I mean, I do appreciate the input everyone goes to make sure that this book is correct, especially the groups that I'm on Yahoo and Google, through connections that I have within the railway industry themselves. I appreciate that work as well. And also close friends who are, for example, wagon enthusiasts or steam loco enthusiasts, and I appreciate all the effort that I get in compiling this book to make sure that for a cost-effective price, you guys have got one reference and one book, and that's the only book you'll ever need to buy, once a year of course. We have then Preserved Engineers, then your chapter 5 is your reference. So there's only 3 sections here. We've got names, pretty straightforward, number of the loco and the name of the vehicle, and then we move on to locos. So for example, let's take HM, that was Healy Mills, technically shut now, but the depot code hasn't been deregistered from the system, so it stays in the book where possible. I will try and keep as much up to date as possible. CS, that's a traction and rolling stock maintenance depot at Carnforth. For the primary user operator is West Coast Railway Company. Okay, so try to put in as much possible here as I can. You might find, again, a few errors here, there, and there, but as I say, let me know. I'll try and keep this book as accurate as possible. I've spent the last 7 months going through every single number in this book to make sure it's up to date. Yeah, that took a lot of work. And then your terminology, stock terminology and region classification references. So in the coaching stocks you'll find M and BR against some of the coaches. That is Manchester and Birmingham Railway. You'll find all the references here in the back of the book. I've also given you a list of Mark 1 and Mark 2 classifications, as well as NPCCS, that's non-passenger carrying coaching stock code. So BV, barrier vehicle, COU, courier vehicle.